In the quiet, manicured suburbs of America, Sarah lived a life that, to outward appearances, was the very definition of perfection. Her days unfolded with a comforting rhythm, a carefully choreographed dance of school runs, volunteer work, and the meticulous upkeep of a home that gleamed with understated elegance. She was a dedicated wife, a loving mother to 2 bright-eyed children, and the silent anchor of her family. Every morning, the scent of fresh coffee mingled with the crisp autumn air as she prepared breakfast, her thoughts often drifting to Mark, her charismatic husband, whose fast-paced executive career frequently took him across time zones. Mark was the kind of man who commanded a room, his easy charm and confident demeanor captivating everyone he met. He was the quintessential American success story, and Sarah, in her own way, was equally successful in crafting a warm, nurturing haven for their family. Yet, beneath the polished surface of their seemingly idyllic existence, a subtle, almost imperceptible current of unease had begun to stir within Sarah. It was a whisper in the quiet moments, a shadow at the edges of her peripheral vision. A feeling she couldn't quite articulate, but couldn't entirely dismiss. Their nightly video calls had become a sacred ritual, a lifeline connecting them across hundreds, sometimes thousands, of miles. Mark would call from sterile hotel rooms, his face illuminated by the harsh glow of a laptop screen, his voice occasionally crackling with the distance. He'd recount the day's triumphs, share anecdotes, and inquire about the children's latest exploits. Sarah, in turn, would paint vivid pictures of their domestic life, striving to bridge the gap with warmth and familiarity. But lately, these calls felt different. There was a new, almost practiced detachment in his eyes, a subtle shift in his tone that left Sarah feeling oddly hollow after they disconnected. Her gut instinct, a powerful, primal sense that had rarely led her astray, screamed that something was amiss. She tried to rationalize it away, the stress of his job, the exhaustion of constant travel, the inevitable ebb and flow of any long-term relationship. She told herself she was being paranoid, that her imagination was running wild. Yet the feeling persisted, a persistent hum beneath the surface of her conscious thoughts, growing louder with each passing day. One crisp afternoon, while tending to her rose bushes, a new neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, a woman with a penchant for neighborhood gossip and an unnervingly sharp memory for faces, approached her. Mrs. Henderson, a recent transplant from a few towns over, smiled brightly, but her eyes held a spark of something Sarah couldn't quite place. "Oh, Sarah, dear," she began, her voice a little too sweet. "I must say, your husband is quite the early riser. I saw him just last week, grabbing coffee at that little bistro downtown, bright and early. Didn't realize he was back from his trip so soon." The words hung in the air, seemingly innocuous, yet they struck Sarah with the force of a physical blow. Her heart gave a sudden, painful lurch. Mark wasn't supposed to be back last week. He had been in Chicago for a crucial conference, a conference that, according to his itinerary, had kept him away for the entire week. He had called her every night from what he claimed was his Chicago hotel room, his voice tired but present. A cold dread seeped into her veins, instantly chilling her carefully constructed world. She managed a strained smile, her mind racing, a frantic scramble to reconcile Mrs. Henderson's casual observation with Mark's detailed accounts. "Oh, yes," she stammered, trying to sound nonchalant. He had a very brief layover, a last-minute change of plans." The lie tasted bitter on her tongue, even though it was meant to protect her husband. Mrs. Henderson's eyes narrowed almost imperceptibly, a silent acknowledgement of the discrepancy, before she moved on to discuss the neighborhood's upcoming bake sale. But for Sarah, the conversation was over. The seed of doubt had been firmly planted, a tiny, insidious crack in the foundation of her perceived perfect life. It was a minuscule flaw, barely visible, yet she knew with a terrifying certainty that it had the potential to shatter everything. The unease she had tried so hard to suppress now coalesced into a tangible fear, a premonition of darkness gathering on the horizon. The perfect suburban dream, for the first time, felt fragile, precariously balanced on a secret she was only just beginning to uncover. The subtle, gnawing unease that had settled in Sarah's stomach transformed into a persistent, throbbing ache after Mrs. Henderson's unsettling revelation. She replayed Mark's recent behaviors in her mind, searching for clues she might have missed, trying to fit the disparate pieces into a coherent, innocuous narrative. His late-night calls, once a comforting ritual, now felt calculated, timed to perfection. His excuses for being unreachable, vague, and sometimes contradictory had been easily dismissed as the pressures of his demanding job. But now, they echoed with a hollow ring, each word a potential fabrication. She wrestled with an internal conflict that tore at her very core. On one hand, there was the unwavering trust she had placed in Mark for over a decade, the foundation of their shared life, their family. To doubt him felt like a betrayal of their vows, a questioning of everything they had built together. On the other hand, there was the visceral, almost primal instinct screaming at her that something was profoundly wrong. It was the same instinct that had warned her of impending danger when her children were small, the same intuition that guided her through complex decisions. To ignore it now felt like self-deception, a dangerous surrender to willful ignorance. The following morning, as she tidied Mark's suitcase, still half unpacked from his supposed Chicago trip, her fingers brushed against something hard nestled deep within a side pocket. Curiosity, mixed with a growing sense of dread, compelled her to investigate. She pulled out a small, elegantly embossed receipt from a high-end jewelry boutique she vaguely recognized from a magazine. Her breath hitched as she unfolded it, revealing the purchase: a delicate, diamond-studded pendant, far too elaborate for Emily, her best friend, who preferred understated pieces, and certainly not for their teenage daughter, whose taste ran to trendy, playful accessories. A cold wave washed over her, chilling her to the bone. This wasn't for her. The thought solidified with a sickening certainty. Mark had never bought her anything so overtly luxurious, preferring practical gifts or experiences rather than ostentatious displays. The item was clearly not for their children. The implications hit her like a physical blow, leaving her breathless and disoriented. The seed of doubt had blossomed into a thorny, poisonous plant, its roots digging deep into the fertile ground of her fear. Her mind, usually a whirlwind of daily tasks and family logistics, now focused with a terrifying clarity. She knew, with an agonizing certainty, that she couldn't let this go. The truth, however painful, was a necessity. She needed to know. The need for answers, for clarity in the murky waters of her suspicion, became an urgent, undeniable imperative. She would investigate, subtly at first, driven by a deep-seated need to reclaim the truth of her life, to understand the betrayal that now felt almost palpable. Later that day, over coffee, she broached the subject with Emily, carefully omitting the most incriminating details, framing it as a vague unease, a feeling that Mark had been distant. Emily, ever the pragmatist, listened patiently, her brow furrowed in concern. "Sarah, you know Mark travels a lot. It's tough on executive types. Maybe he's just stressed," she offered, her voice gentle, but her eyes held a flicker of understanding. "But if your gut is telling you something, don't ignore it. Just be careful. Don't jump to conclusions. But don't bury your head in the sand either. Maybe just watch, observe." Emily's cautious advice, meant to soothe, only amplified Sarah's internal turmoil. She felt increasingly isolated in her suspicion, unable to fully articulate the growing terror that gripped her heart, the weight of her secret, the knowledge that her perfect life might be a carefully constructed illusion, pressed down on her, suffocating her with its heaviness. The tension in their home, though outwardly invisible, became a living entity for Sarah. Every phone call Mark made, every late-night email he typed, every casual remark he uttered was scrutinized, dissected, and analyzed through the new, distorted lens of her doubt. Sleep became a luxury she could no longer afford. Her nights filled with restless tossing and turning, her mind replaying conversations, searching for inconsistencies, for the telltale signs of deceit. The once comforting silence of their bedroom now felt oppressive, filled with unspoken questions and the terrifying possibility of betrayal. She watched Mark, her husband, the man she loved, with a new clinical detachment, a silent observer in her own life, waiting for the moment when the truth, in its brutal, undeniable form, would finally reveal itself. The air in their home, once filled with warmth and familiarity, now crackled with an unspoken tension, a silent countdown to an inevitable, devastating truth. The stage was being set, not for a grand play, but for a quiet, agonizing unraveling. The night of the fateful video call arrived like a premonition, a heavy blanket of dread settling over Sarah as she prepared for the nightly ritual. Mark's face appeared on her screen, his smile a little too wide, his eyes darting just slightly, a subtle evasiveness that sent a cold shiver down her spine. He was in what he claimed was a hotel room, but the background was indistinct, a blurry wash of neutral tones. Sarah, her voice carefully modulated to conceal the tremor in her heart, tried to engage him in genuine conversation, asking about his day, the details of his meetings, anything to ground him in their shared reality. But Mark's responses were clipped, his attention fragmented. He kept glancing away, his fingers tapping an impatient rhythm on an unseen surface. He spoke of tiresome negotiations and endless presentations, his words a monotonous drone that did little to assuage her growing anxiety. He was distracted, undeniably so, and the distance between them, both physical and emotional, felt vast and unbridgeable. Suddenly, without warning, a flicker, a brief, almost imperceptible shift in Mark's camera angle, a momentary lapse in his carefully constructed facade. For a fraction of a second, the blurry background snapped into sharp focus, revealing not the sterile, generic decor of a hotel, but something altogether different. Sarah's breath hitched in her throat, her heart lurching violently in her chest. It was a bathroom, undeniably, but one of exquisite design and opulent finishes. Marble gleamed under soft, recessed lighting, reflecting a large, freestanding bathtub with intricate claw feet. A collection of artisan soaps and lotions sat on a polished travertine counter next to a vase holding fresh, vibrant orchids. The fixtures were brushed gold, catching the light with a luxurious sheen. This was not a standard hotel bathroom, not even a high-end suite. This was a private sanctuary, a space designed for comfort and indulgence, possessing a distinctly feminine touch. The image, though fleeting, was burned into Sarah's mind with terrifying clarity. Her pulse throbbed in her ears, a frantic drumbeat echoing the chaos erupting within her. She tried to process the visual information, to make sense of the sudden jarring discrepancy. Mark, seemingly oblivious to his momentary slip, quickly adjusted the camera, his movements a little too swift, a little too deliberate. The blurry hotel room background returned, but it was too late. The vision of the luxurious bathroom, with its telltale orchids and golden fixtures, was seared into her consciousness, an indelible mark of betrayal. A cold, heavy dread settled deep in her stomach, twisting into a knot of nausea. She forced herself to maintain a semblance of normalcy, to respond to Mark's perfunctory questions about the children, her voice sounding hollow and distant even to her own ears. Her mind, however, was no longer present in the conversation. It was replaying the image, dissecting every detail, searching for answers, for confirmation of the terrifying suspicion that was now taking root. The marble, the orchids, the specific design of the bathtub, these details formed a mosaic of evidence, each piece screaming a silent truth. Her worst fears, the whispers of doubt that had haunted her for weeks, were no longer whispers. They were a deafening roar, confirming what her gut had instinctively known all along. The call ended, thankfully, with Mark's usual hurried goodbye, leaving Sarah alone in the quiet of her living room, the screen now dark, a mirror reflecting her pale, distraught face. The chilling realization hit her with the force of a physical blow, stealing the air from her lungs. This wasn't a hotel. This was someone's home, and Mark was there. The implications were staggering. A tidal wave of pain and shock washing over her. The man she had built her life with, the father of her children, was not on a business trip. He was with someone else, in a place that clearly belonged to another woman. The betrayal was no longer a vague apprehension. It was a stark, undeniable reality. Her perfect life, the carefully constructed edifice of her marriage, had just crumbled into dust around her. The weight of this revelation pressed down on her, suffocating her, leaving her gasping for air in a world that had suddenly become unrecognizable. The tears, hot and stinging, finally began to fall, a torrent of grief for a love she now knew was a lie. Her heart, once full of trust and affection, was now a jagged landscape of shattered dreams and searing pain. The image of the luxurious bathroom, beautiful yet sinister, would forever be etched in her memory as the moment her world fell apart. The desperate attempt to piece together the clues from the fleeting image consumed Sarah. Her mind raced, a whirlwind of fragmented thoughts and chilling possibilities. The marble, the orchids, the golden fixtures, they were all distinct, forming a mental blueprint of the bathroom. Then, like a lightning bolt, her memory flashed to the neighbor's casual comment about seeing Mark locally. It had been a fleeting, almost dismissed remark at the time, but now it resonated with terrifying significance. The pieces clicked into place with a horrifying precision. The reflection was not a hotel, not a temporary lodging for a business traveler, but unmistakably a home. A private residence filled with personal touches, a place of comfort and permanence that could only belong to someone intimately connected to its owner. Driven by a raw, primal need for truth, Sarah moved with a frantic energy she didn't know she possessed. Her fingers, trembling slightly, flew across her laptop keyboard. She searched for interior design trends, local high-end bathroom renovations, anything that might match the unique features she had glimpsed. She cross-referenced images of exotic orchids, the specific shade of marble, the type of brushed gold hardware. Hours blurred into a singular, obsessive quest. Each click of the mouse, each new image that loaded, brought her closer to an answer she both craved and dreaded. And then, there it was. An article from a local luxury home magazine featuring a spread on a newly renovated property in an exclusive neighborhood just a few towns over. The photographs, crisp and vibrant, left no room for doubt. The bathroom, with its distinctive layout, the very same marble, the identical golden fixtures gleaming under recessed lighting, and even a similar arrangement of fresh orchids stared back at her from the screen. It was an exact match. Her breath hitched in her throat, a sharp, painful gasp. The article provided details, including the owner's name, Jessica Thorne. The name was familiar, a dull ache beginning to throb behind Sarah's eyes. Jessica Thorne, a junior colleague of Mark's, someone he had mentioned in passing a few times, always professionally, always dismissively. Just a new hire, he'd said, very keen, but still learning the ropes. The casualness of his tone now felt like a cruel mockery, a carefully constructed smokescreen. The betrayal hit her with the force of a physical blow, a powerful, sickening impact that left her gasping for air. It wasn't just an affair. It was an affair conducted with someone from his own office, someone he had brought into their shared professional sphere, someone he had dismissed with such practiced ease. The layers of deceit peeled away, revealing a chasm of treachery and disrespect that stretched deeper than she could have ever imagined. Her world, once a beacon of stability and love, crumbled around her, reduced to dust and shattered fragments. The shock was so profound, so devastating, that for a long moment she felt nothing but a hollow, echoing void. Then the pain surged, a tidal wave of grief, anger, and disbelief. It washed over her, suffocating her, leaving her reeling. Her hands flew to her mouth, stifling a sob that threatened to tear through her chest. The images on the screen, once merely clues, were now irrefutable evidence, a damning testament to Mark's duplicity. He wasn't just cheating. He was living a double life, meticulously constructed to deceive her, to keep her in the dark while he indulged in a secret existence. The vision of Mark, laughing and carefree in that luxurious bathroom, flashed before her eyes, juxtaposed with the image of him on the video call, feigning fatigue and boredom. The hypocrisy was unbearable, a venomous sting that poisoned every memory they shared. Every business trip now felt tainted, every late-night call a potential lie. The foundation of their marriage, once so solid and unwavering, dissolved into an illusion, a cruel trick played on her unsuspecting heart. She stared at the screen, at the smiling face of Jessica Thorne in the article, a woman who had unknowingly become the embodiment of Sarah's deepest fears. The irony was a bitter taste in her mouth. Mark had not just broken their vows, he had shattered her trust, demolished her sense of security, and left her standing amidst the ruins of a life she thought was real. The world around her, previously vibrant and full of promise, now felt muted, distorted, a cruel parody of what it once was. The pain was an almost physical entity, a crushing weight on her chest, leaving her gasping for breath, desperately searching for an anchor in the storm of her disbelief. The tears flowed freely now, hot and relentless, a testament to the depth of her sorrow and the agonizing realization that her marriage, her love, her entire future had been built on a foundation of lies. The initial impulse was a primal scream, a desperate urge to pick up her phone, dial Mark's number, and unleash the torrent of pain and fury that threatened to consume her. She wanted to hear his voice, to confront him with the evidence, to watch his carefully constructed world shatter in real time. But a quiet, almost imperceptible voice within her, a voice forged in years of navigating complex family dynamics and professional challenges, urged caution. This wasn't just about anger. It was about justice, about truth, and about protecting her children from the collateral damage of his deceit. She needed more. She needed undeniable proof, an ironclad case that would leave no room for his charming excuses or manipulative gaslighting. She wouldn't give him an inch, wouldn't allow him the luxury of plausible deniability. The thought of him squirming, cornered, and exposed fueled a cold, hard resolve within her. So she held back, the raw emotion churning beneath a facade of forced calm. The agonizing wait for Mark to return from his business trip stretched into an eternity. Each tick of the clock was a torment, each passing hour a slow burn of anticipation and dread. She imagined him laughing with Jessica, sharing intimate moments, while she, his wife, sat at home, oblivious and betrayed. The images from the video call replayed in her mind like a broken record, each detail magnified, each laugh a dagger to her heart. Her internal turmoil was a relentless storm, oscillating violently between white-hot anger that made her hands tremble, profound sorrow that left her breathless, and a desperate, flickering hope for an explanation, however improbable, that might somehow mitigate the damage. But deep down, she knew there was no explanation that could excuse this. Maintaining a semblance of normalcy for her children became a Herculean effort. Every morning, she would paint on a brave smile, listen patiently to their stories about school, help them with homework, and tuck them into bed with the usual bedtime stories. Each "I love you, Mom" felt like a precious, fragile gift, and she clung to those moments, drawing strength from their innocent trust. She cooked their favorite meals, played games with them, and pretended that nothing was amiss, all while a tempest raged within her. The effort was exhausting, draining her reserves, but she knew she couldn't break. Not yet. Not until she had secured their future. A phone call from Mark, a few days before his scheduled return, amplified her rage to an almost unbearable degree. His voice, smooth and practiced, was filled with feigned affection. "Missing my beautiful wife and kids," he purred, his words dripping with a sickening sweetness. "Can't wait to be home, darling." He spoke of mundane details, of meetings and projections, of the stress of travel, painting a perfect picture of the dutiful, hard-working husband. Sarah listened, her knuckles white as she gripped the phone, a sarcastic laugh bubbling at the back of her throat, which she swallowed with immense effort. Each word of endearment was a fresh insult, each lie a deeper cut. She managed to respond in monosyllables, her voice tight, a subtle tremor she hoped he wouldn't detect. She didn't want to give him any indication that his carefully constructed world was about to come crashing down. The call ended, and Sarah slowly lowered the phone, her breath catching in her throat. The resolve within her solidified, hardening into a diamond-like determination. She would expose his deceit. She would unmask the man who had so carelessly shattered her life. The cost, she knew, would be immense, but the price of remaining silent, of living in this gilded cage of lies, was far greater. She would not be a victim. She would be the architect of her own truth, and she would ensure that Mark faced the full consequences of his actions. The time for tears was over. Now was the time for action, for strategy, for a reckoning. The calm that settled over her was not peace, but the chilling stillness before a storm. She would be ready. Mark's return home was devoid of the usual enthusiastic greetings Sarah once extended. His key turning in the lock, the familiar thud of his luggage hitting the floor in the hallway, all met with Sarah's chillingly calm demeanor. She offered a small, tight smile, a performance perfected over days of agonizing practice. "Welcome home, Mark," she said, her voice even, almost detached. He, oblivious to the icy undercurrent, embraced her briefly, a perfunctory gesture that once felt warm, but now felt hollow and forced. He spoke of his successful trip, of deals closed and clients impressed, entirely missing the subtle shift in her eyes, the way her smile didn't quite reach them. He attempted to reestablish their routine, suggesting dinner at their favorite restaurant, talking about future plans for the children, discussing mundane household matters. Sarah played along, a master actress in her own unfolding tragedy. She nodded in the right places, offered appropriate responses, but inside, her mind was a whirlwind of meticulous planning. Every interaction was a chess move, every conversation a data-gathering exercise. She observed his phone, his behavior, every subtle clue that might further solidify her case. Her desire for justice, for an undeniable truth, burned brightly, eclipsing all other emotions. Mark, lulled by her apparent normalcy, grew less guarded. He left his phone face up on the counter, answered calls with a casualness that betrayed his secret life. Sarah, with a quiet determination, began her careful surveillance. She noticed the slight hesitation before he picked up certain calls, the way his thumb hovered over messages before dismissing them quickly. She saw him subtly turn his body away when he typed, a fractional movement that spoke volumes. It was a series of small, almost imperceptible details, but to Sarah they were glaring beacons, each one confirming her suspicions with agonizing clarity. One evening, while Mark was in the shower, the soft ping of his phone announced a new message. Sarah's heart pounded, a frantic drum against her ribs. She hesitated for a fraction of a second, her conscience warring with her need for truth. The need won. With trembling fingers, she picked up the device. The screen was locked, but the notification preview was enough. It was from a number she didn't recognize, but the content sent a cold shiver down her spine. "Missing you already, my love. Can't wait for our next business meeting." The message was accompanied by an emoji of a kiss and a red heart. The words hit her like a physical blow, stealing the air from her lungs. It wasn't just a fleeting affair, a moment of weakness. This was an ongoing, deeply intimate connection. The casualness, the pet names, the shared anticipation of future rendezvous, it all painted a picture of a relationship far more serious than she had dared to imagine. The emotional toll of living this lie, of being a silent observer to her own betrayal, was immense. Each day felt like walking through glass, every step a potential cut. The weight of her secret, of knowing the truth while Mark remained blissfully ignorant, was suffocating. She felt a profound loneliness, a desolate isolation in her own home. She carefully placed the phone back exactly as she had found it, her movements precise, almost robotic. Her mind, however, was no longer calm. The discovery of that hidden text message was the final nail in the coffin of her marriage, solidifying her path to confrontation. There was no going back now. The pieces of the puzzle were all in place, and the picture they formed was undeniably clear. The cold, analytical part of her brain, which had meticulously gathered evidence, now gave way to a surge of righteous anger. The quiet stillness before the storm had ended. The storm was here. She looked at her reflection in the darkened window, a woman transformed by pain and resolve, ready to dismantle the life she had so carefully built, brick by painful brick. Mark, still blissfully unaware of the seismic shift occurring beneath the surface of his marriage, perceived Sarah's altered demeanor as nothing more than the ebb and flow of everyday marital stress. He attributed her quietness to a demanding week, her occasional distant gaze to the preoccupations of motherhood. His self-absorbed world allowed no room for the notion that her calm exterior masked a raging inferno of betrayal. He dismissed any subtle changes in her behavior, focusing instead on the thrilling escape his affair provided, a potent cocktail of novelty and illicit excitement that made his routine life seem dull by comparison. His perspective on the affair was one of exhilarating freedom, a delicious transgression that spiced up an otherwise predictable existence. It wasn't just about physical intimacy. It was the thrill of the chase, the clandestine meetings, the whispered promises, the feeling of being desired and admired anew. It offered him a sense of power, a renewed vigor that he mistakenly believed translated into his professional life. He saw himself as a man who could skillfully juggle multiple lives, a master of his own destiny, and in doing so, he conveniently overlooked the ethical implications and the profound pain he inflicted upon the woman he had vowed to cherish. The lover, a junior colleague named Jessica, played her role with an eager enthusiasm that fed Mark's ego. She was captivated by his charm, his apparent success, and the attention he showered upon her. To her, Mark was an exciting, unattainable figure, a high-flying executive who seemed to genuinely care for her. She was blissfully unaware of his true marital status, or at least she chose to remain so. Mark had carefully constructed a narrative for her, painting a picture of a difficult, almost ended marriage, a wife who no longer understood him, a home that felt cold and empty. Jessica, flattered by his confidences and seduced by his promises, believed his carefully crafted lies implicitly. She saw herself as the catalyst for his liberation, the woman who finally brought joy back into his life, completely oblivious to the intricate web of deceit he had woven around them both. Occasionally, a fleeting moment of guilt would prick at Mark's conscience, a faint echo of the vows he had made, the life he had built with Sarah. But these pangs were quickly suppressed, drowned out by the intoxicating allure of his affair and the self-serving narrative he had so meticulously constructed. He rationalized his actions, convincing himself that he deserved this happiness, that he was merely seeking what was missing from his primary relationship. His mind conveniently filtered out the consequences, focusing only on the immediate gratification, the thrill of the forbidden. He saw himself not as a villain, but as a man seeking fulfillment, a victim of circumstance rather than a perpetrator of deceit. This self-deception allowed him to maintain his composure, to continue his double life without significant internal conflict, or so he believed. The stark contrast between Sarah's quiet suffering and Mark's oblivious indulgence was a cruel irony. While Sarah navigated the treacherous waters of betrayal, meticulously gathering evidence, her heart aching with each new discovery, Mark reveled in the superficial pleasures of his clandestine romance. He enjoyed lavish dinners, secret weekend getaways, and the intoxicating flattery of his mistress, all while Sarah bore the silent weight of his infidelity. He would return home from these illicit escapades, his mind still buzzing with the excitement of his other life, and greet Sarah with a forced affection that now tasted like ash in her mouth. One afternoon, as Sarah was tidying the living room, she overheard Mark on the phone in his study. The door slightly ajar. His voice was low, laced with an intimacy she hadn't heard directed at her in years. "Yes, my love," he murmured. "I miss you too. Tonight? I'll make an excuse, don't worry. Just you and me." The words, though not explicitly revealing, confirmed the depth of his deceit, the casual planning of another rendezvous, another lie. A cold wave washed over Sarah, a chilling confirmation of her worst fears. He wasn't just having an affair, he was actively planning their encounters, weaving a tapestry of lies to facilitate his betrayal. The overheard conversation was the final, undeniable piece of the puzzle, sealing Mark's fate in Sarah's eyes. There would be no turning back, no room for doubt. The time for silent observation was over. The time for action was at hand. The overheard conversation, a casual whisper of my love and clandestine plans, solidified Sarah's resolve. The silent observation had served its purpose. It had armed her with irrefutable proof. Now, with a steely glint in her eyes, she meticulously began to compile her evidence. Every photograph she had secretly taken of the unfamiliar luxury items, every time-stamped text message she had managed to glimpse on Mark's phone, every cryptic calendar entry was carefully organized. She even revisited the fleeting reflection from the video call, sketching out the distinctive bathroom features from memory, cross-referencing them with online images of the colleagues' known residence. Each piece was a shard of their shattered life, now weaponized by her pain. The meticulousness of her work was born not of vengeance, but of a profound need for truth and justice, not just for herself, but for her children. She knew that to protect them, she needed to be unassailable. Her next step was a difficult one, but born of clear-headed strategy. She contacted David Miller, a respected family lawyer known for his discretion and sharp intellect. Scheduling a private consultation, Sarah walked into his office, her heart a drumbeat against her ribs, a briefcase clutched tightly in her hand. The weight of its contents felt immense, a physical manifestation of the betrayal she carried. David, a man in his late 50s with kind eyes and a reassuring demeanor, listened patiently as Sarah, her voice trembling at first, began to recount the unraveling of her marriage. He initially maintained a professional, somewhat detached skepticism, a common defense mechanism for lawyers accustomed to emotional narratives. He scribbled notes, his pen scratching quietly against the pad, his gaze steady on her. As Sarah started to present her compiled evidence, however, his posture shifted. The casual lean back in his chair straightened, his brow furrowed with increasing concern. She laid out the printouts of the luxury item receipt, the name of the high-end boutique clearly visible, a place Mark never frequented for her. Then came the series of screenshots of the incriminating text messages, the affectionate exchanges, the subtle yet undeniable plans for secret meetings. Finally, she produced the detailed sketch of the bathroom from the video call reflection, juxtaposed with publicly available images of Jessica's home interior, showcasing the uncanny similarities. The visual evidence was damning, leaving no room for interpretation. David's initial skepticism dissolved into grave concern. He meticulously examined each piece, his eyes moving from photo to text to sketch, a silent acknowledgement of the undeniable truth unfolding before him. He saw not just a heartbroken wife, but a woman who had systematically and intelligently gathered the proof needed to dismantle a carefully constructed lie. The emotional burden of sharing her story, of seeing her life laid bare in front of a stranger, was immense. Each word felt like a fresh wound, each piece of evidence a painful reminder of Mark's deceit. Yet as she spoke, a strange sense of empowerment began to bloom within her. This was no longer just her secret pain. It was a narrative of betrayal, meticulously documented and now shared. After reviewing everything, David leaned back, a sigh escaping his lips. "Sarah," he began, his voice now devoid of any skepticism, "this is comprehensive. You have built a very strong case." He then proceeded to advise her on a strategic approach, emphasizing the importance of protecting her and her children above all else. He spoke of legal options, of securing their financial future, of navigating the treacherous waters of divorce proceedings with dignity and strength. His words were a lifeline, cutting through the fog of her emotional turmoil, offering a clear path forward. Sarah listened intently, absorbing every detail. Her resolve, once a flicker, now blazed brightly. The pain of betrayal, instead of consuming her, transformed into a powerful weapon of truth. She was no longer just a victim. She was a strategist, a protector, a woman determined to reclaim her life. The stage was now set for a dramatic confrontation, not one born of impulsive rage, but of calculated precision. The point of no return had been crossed. Sarah knew with absolute certainty that her silence had ended, and Mark's carefully constructed world was about to come crashing down. The confrontation would not be a mere argument, it would be an unveiling, a reckoning. The air in their once shared living room crackled with a tension thicker than any storm cloud. Sarah stood, not trembling, but radiating a chilling calm, her gaze fixed on Mark. He had just walked through the door, a forced smile on his face, attempting to resume their normal evening charade. He asked about her day, about the kids, his voice an unsettling blend of forced cheerfulness and underlying weariness. But Sarah did not respond in kind. Instead, she took a deep, steadying breath, the kind that precedes an irreversible act. "Mark," she began, her voice low, steady, and devoid of the usual warmth he expected. It was a voice he barely recognized, stripped clean of emotion, leaving only a stark, unwavering resolve. "We need to talk, not about our day, but about yours. All of them." Mark's forced smile faltered, a flicker of apprehension crossing his features. He tried to laugh it off, a nervous, hollow sound. "What are you talking about, Sarah? Is everything all right?" He attempted to move past her, perhaps to the kitchen for a drink, to diffuse the situation with a mundane action. But Sarah remained rooted, a silent, immovable barrier. "Don't play innocent, Mark," she said, her eyes piercing through his flimsy pretense. "It's over. The lies, the secrets, the deceit, all of it." He recoiled as if struck, his face draining of color. For a moment he simply stared, his mind scrambling for an escape, a plausible denial. "I don't know what you're talking about," he stammered, his voice losing its confident edge, replaced by a nascent fear. "You're being irrational." Sarah did not raise her voice. She did not scream. Instead, she walked to the coffee table, where a carefully arranged stack of documents lay. She picked up the first item, a printout of the luxury boutique receipt. "Do you recognize this, Mark?" she asked, her tone conversational, yet utterly devastating. "A very expensive watch. Not for me, certainly not for the children. Who was it for then?" Mark's eyes darted to the receipt, his jaw clenching. He opened his mouth, perhaps to concoct some elaborate lie about a client gift, but the words caught in his throat. His denial was suffocated by the cold, hard evidence. She then placed a series of printed text messages before him. They were intimate, affectionate exchanges, filled with pet names and plans for clandestine meetings. And these, she continued, her voice unwavering, are quite explicit. Missing you, my love. Can't wait to see you tonight. Who is my love, my Mark, and where exactly were you tonight? His face was a mask of disbelief, then dawning horror. He reached out, his fingers brushing against the printouts as if they were venomous. He couldn't deny the sender's number, nor the content. The digital trail was undeniable. His carefully constructed world was beginning to crack. Then came the final, most damning piece of evidence. Sarah pulled out the large laminated printouts. The detailed sketch of the unique bathroom from the video call reflection, placed side by side with the publicly available images of Jessica's home interior. The distinctive tiles, the specific vanity, the unusual light fixtures, all perfectly matched. And this, Sarah stated, her voice now a whisper, but one that carried the weight of absolute truth, is where you were during your last business trip. Not a hotel, Mark, not a conference center, but in Jessica's bathroom. Mark's eyes widened, his breath catching in his throat. The blood drained from his face, leaving it ashen. The reflection, the fleeting image he thought he had so cleverly concealed, had been his undoing. His facade didn't just crumble. It shattered into 1,000,000 irreparable pieces. He swayed slightly, as if losing his balance, the sheer weight of his exposure threatening to buckle his knees. His initial shock gave way to a pathetic, desperate scramble for redemption. "Sarah, please," he whimpered, his voice raspy, his eyes pleading. "It's not what you think. It was a mistake, a moment of weakness. I can explain. I love you. Sarah, only you." He took a step towards her, his hands outstretched, as if to physically grasp at her forgiveness. But Sarah stood firm, an unyielding wall. Her heart, once a battlefield of conflicting emotions, was now a fortress of resolve. "There's nothing to explain, Mark," she said, her voice cutting through his pleas like a sharp blade. "The evidence speaks for itself, and your words. They're just more lies." He tried again, his voice thick with a mixture of fear and desperation. "Please, don't do this. Think of the children. We can fix this. I'll do anything. I'll break it off with her, I swear." His words were a desperate attempt to manipulate, to appeal to their shared history, to the life they had built. But Sarah merely shook her head, a profound sadness in her eyes, devoid of any pity for him. "No, Mark," she said, her voice low and final. "You can't fix what you deliberately broke, and I will not be swayed by your pleas. This isn't about fixing, it's about facing the truth." Her unwavering resolve was a stark contrast to his pathetic attempts to beg for forgiveness. She had seen through his manipulation for too long, and now, armed with the truth, she was impervious to his deceit. The confrontation was over, and the outcome for Mark was devastatingly clear. The immediate fallout of the confrontation was a deafening silence that descended upon their once vibrant home, a silence far more impactful than any shouted argument could have been. Mark, defeated and exposed, stood for a long moment, his shoulders slumped, his eyes vacant. Sarah watched him, a strange cocktail of exhaustion and grim satisfaction swirling within her. There was no triumph, only the hollow ache of a life irrevocably altered. With a sigh that seemed to carry the weight of years, she simply pointed to the door. "Get out, Mark," she said, her voice devoid of emotion, a mere whisper that nonetheless carried absolute authority. He didn't argue, didn't plead further. The fight had left him. Gathering a few essentials in a small bag he kept for his business trips, he moved like a ghost through the house. Each step echoed in the profound quiet, a funeral march for their marriage. The clang of the front door closing behind him was not a dramatic bang, but a soft click, sealing the end of an era. The house, once filled with his presence, now felt eerily empty, yet strangely also lighter. A suffocating weight had been lifted, replaced by a vast, cold expanse of unknown future. Sarah sank onto the sofa, the meticulously organized evidence scattered on the coffee table a testament to the battle she had just fought. Her body ached with a profound weariness, but beneath it, a strange sense of liberation began to stir. The constant gnawing suspicion, the emotional warfare, the pretense, it was all over. The truth, brutal as it was, had set her free from the prison of his lies. Yet, this freedom was tinged with an overwhelming sadness for the life she had envisioned, the future she had painstakingly built, now reduced to rubble. The hardest part, she knew, would be explaining it to the children. Their innocent world, shielded by her fierce protection, was about to be rocked. How do you tell young, trusting hearts that their father, the man they adored, had shattered their family with his deceit? The thought alone brought tears to her eyes, a fresh wave of grief for their impending pain. She rehearsed the words in her mind, trying to find a balance between honesty and shielding them from the ugliness of adult betrayal. It was a tightrope walk she dreaded. Emily, her best friend, was a beacon in the storm. A frantic call from Sarah, her voice raw with emotion, had Emily at her doorstep within minutes, a casserole in hand and an unwavering resolve in her eyes. She listened without judgment, offering not platitudes, but a steady, comforting presence. Sarah's parents, though heartbroken, rallied around her, providing a secure anchor in the turbulent seas. Their unwavering support was a lifeline, reminding her that she was not alone, that her family would always be her sanctuary. The initial steps toward legal separation felt daunting, a bureaucratic maze she had to navigate while her heart was still bleeding. Phone calls to the lawyer, appointments, discussions about assets and custody. Each task felt monumental, yet she pushed through. She focused on the practicalities, allowing the cold logic of legal proceedings to numb the emotional pain, if only for a few hours at a time. The road ahead stretched out, long and arduous, but a nascent strength, forged in the fires of betrayal, began to emerge within her. Late that night, after the children were finally asleep, their innocent dreams undisturbed by the day's upheaval, Sarah found herself sitting by the window. The house was quiet, save for the soft hum of the refrigerator. She looked out at the familiar suburban street, bathed in the pale glow of the streetlights. A profound emptiness settled in. But it was different from the emptiness of despair. It was the quiet space left behind when something significant ends, a void waiting to be filled. She allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection, not on Mark, but on herself. She had survived. She had faced the truth, however painful, and she had stood her ground. This was not the end of her story, but merely the beginning of healing, a difficult, necessary journey amidst the ruins of her former life. The dawn, she knew, would bring new challenges, but also a fragile, hopeful promise of a new beginning. The initial shockwaves of Mark's betrayal had barely settled within the confines of Sarah's shattered home before the tremors began to spread. It started subtly, a whisper here, a knowing glance there. Among the tight-knit community they had once been an integral part of. News, especially bad news, has an uncanny way of traveling faster than light in small towns, and the story of Mark's affair was no exception. What began as hushed gossip at the school gates quickly escalated, fueled by a mixture of morbid curiosity and genuine sympathy for Sarah. Soon, it wasn't just the neighbors who knew. It became fodder for local online forums, a public spectacle unfolding in excruciating detail. The damage to Mark's meticulously constructed facade, and subsequently his career, was swift and brutal. His position as a respected executive, built on a foundation of trust and integrity, crumbled under the weight of his actions. Clients, once eager for his business, grew distant. Colleagues, who had once admired his drive, now regarded him with a mixture of pity and disdain. The very reputation he had so carefully cultivated became his undoing, a consequence he had clearly never foreseen in his pursuit of fleeting pleasure. The professional world, often unforgiving of moral transgressions, proved to be a harsh judge. Meanwhile, his lover, the junior colleague whose luxurious bathroom had been caught in that fateful reflection, found her own world imploding. She had been, by all accounts, an unwitting participant in Mark's cruel deception, led to believe he was either single or in an open relationship. The revelation of his marital status, coupled with the public shaming that inevitably followed, left her utterly humiliated and betrayed. Her career, once promising, now lay in tatters, tainted by association with a man who had so carelessly disregarded the lives of others. The irony was not lost on Sarah. Mark's web of deceit had ensnared not just his family, but everyone who had crossed his path. Through it all, Sarah moved with a quiet, dignified resolve. She refused to engage in the public mudslinging, the recriminations, or the tit-for-tat accusations that often accompany such scandals. Her focus remained steadfastly on her children and her own healing. She understood that stooping to Mark's level would only diminish her and complicate the already painful process of rebuilding. She chose silence over sensationalism, grace over grievance, a decision that earned her immense respect from those who truly mattered. The community's reaction was, predictably, a mixed bag. There was an outpouring of sympathy for Sarah, an acknowledgement of the unfair hand she had been dealt. Meals were delivered, offers of help poured in, and friends rallied around her, forming a protective circle. But there was also a palpable condemnation for Mark. His actions seen as a betrayal of not just his family, but the values of their community. He became a pariah, his name synonymous with deceit, a cautionary tale whispered behind closed doors. The children, however, bore the brunt of the public fallout. School became a challenging environment, filled with whispers and curious stares. Their friends, though mostly supportive, sometimes struggled with how to navigate the awkwardness. Sarah, ever the protector, anticipated these difficulties. She sat them down, not to vilify their father, but to explain that sometimes adults make very bad choices, and that those choices have consequences. She armed them with the truth, delivered gently, and taught them the importance of resilience and holding their heads high. She enrolled them in counseling, ensuring they had a safe space to process their emotions away from the prying eyes of the world. One afternoon, during a parent-teacher conference, a well-meaning but tactless parent brought up the scandal, expressing concern for Sarah's children. It was a moment that could have easily spiraled into an emotional outburst. Instead, Sarah drew a deep breath, her gaze unwavering. "My children are strong," she stated, her voice calm but firm, "and they are surrounded by love. What happened between Mark and me is a private matter, and we are handling it with dignity. Our focus now is on healing and moving forward, and I would appreciate it if that focus was respected." It was a powerful public address, delivered without fanfare or drama, yet it carried the weight of her unwavering commitment to her family's well-being. It was a declaration that she would not be defined by Mark's failings, but by her own strength and her children's future. Mark, stripped of his former status and surrounded by the wreckage of his own making, embarked on a desperate, often clumsy attempt to rebuild his life. His professional world had collapsed. Doors that were once wide open now slammed shut in his face. Former colleagues avoided his calls, business partners dissolved agreements, and the whispers that followed him were far more damaging than any public accusation. He found himself adrift, a pariah in the very circles he had once effortlessly commanded. Personally, the ruin was even more profound. He had lost his family, his home, the respect of his children, and the comfortable life he had taken for granted. He made repeated, often tearful, pleas for Sarah's forgiveness, his voice laced with a pathetic blend of regret and self-pity. He spoke of realizing the depth of his mistakes, of understanding. Finally, what he had truly lost. Each call, each message, was a desperate olive branch, a futile attempt to rewind time and erase the indelible scars he had inflicted. Sarah listened, sometimes with a quiet weariness, sometimes with a flicker of the old anger, but mostly with a detached understanding. The Mark who pleaded with her was a shadow of the man she had married, a broken figure consumed by his own consequences. She wrestled with an internal debate, a silent battle between the natural human desire for vengeance and the profound yearning to simply move forward. There were moments, fleeting and intense, when the thought of seeing him suffer, truly suffer, offered a dark satisfaction. But those moments quickly receded, overshadowed by a more powerful, more constructive impulse. Her focus remained steadfastly on her children, their emotional recovery, and the arduous task of building a new, stable future for them all. Their well-being was paramount, a guiding principle that dictated every decision she made. In the end, Sarah made a pivotal decision, one that would define her journey through this profound betrayal. She chose not to seek vengeance, not to actively participate in Mark's downfall beyond the necessary legal steps, but to pursue peace, her children's peace. It was a choice born not of weakness, but of immense strength, a recognition that holding on to bitterness would only poison her own spirit. She understood that true healing lay not in Mark's suffering, but in her own liberation from the emotional prison he had built around her. The legal proceedings, though emotionally draining, moved forward with a quiet efficiency. Sarah's lawyer, a formidable woman who admired Sarah's resilience, ensured that the children's future was secured. The settlement provided financial stability, allowing Sarah to maintain their home, continue their education, and provide the comfort and security they deserved. It was not about punishing Mark financially, but about protecting her family, ensuring they had the resources to thrive independently. Each document signed, each legal hurdle cleared, felt like another step on the long road to freedom. Then came the moment of closure, a day Sarah had both dreaded and yearned for. It was the final signature on the divorce papers, the official severing of ties with Mark. There was no dramatic confrontation, no shouting, no tears, just the quiet finality of ink on paper. As she walked out of the lawyer's office, the weight that had pressed down on her for so long seemed to lift, replaced by a profound sense of relief. It wasn't happiness, not yet, but it was the promise of it. It was the quiet understanding that the chapter of Mark was officially closed, and a new, unwritten one stretched out before her, full of possibilities. She knew the scars would remain, a testament to the pain she had endured, but they would no longer define her. They would simply be a part of her story, a reminder of her unwavering strength and her capacity for profound resilience. The path to true healing had begun. The ink on the divorce papers was truly dry, marking not an ending, but a profound new beginning for Sarah. The initial days were a blur of quiet tasks and the gentle, almost imperceptible hum of a house finding its new rhythm. She began to focus deeply on her journey of healing, recognizing it not as a destination, but as a continuous process. Each morning, she rose with a renewed sense of purpose, consciously choosing to invest in herself and her children. Her strength, once a reactive force against betrayal, now transformed into a proactive engine for growth and independence. She started with small steps, rediscovering hobbies she had long abandoned, like painting and gardening, finding solace and a sense of accomplishment in the vibrant colors and flourishing life she cultivated. Her professional life, which had taken a back seat during the tumultuous divorce proceedings, now became a vibrant avenue for her renewed energy. Sarah, always intelligent and capable, poured herself into her work, quickly distinguishing herself in her field. She took on new challenges, embraced leadership roles, and found immense satisfaction in her achievements. Her colleagues, many of whom had offered quiet support during her ordeal, now witnessed a woman not just recovering, but truly thriving. Promotions and recognition followed, not as a means to forget the past, but as tangible proof of her inherent worth and talent, independent of any man. This success wasn't about proving anything to Mark. It was about proving everything to herself. Her children, once navigating the choppy waters of their parents' separation, began to blossom under Sarah's unwavering care and the stable environment she meticulously built. They adapted to their new family structure with a resilience that mirrored their mother's. Sarah made sure to create an open and honest dialogue with them, addressing their questions and fears with empathy and reassurance. She enrolled them in new activities, fostering their interests and ensuring they felt loved, secure, and understood. The house, once filled with unspoken tension, now resonated with laughter, shared stories, and the comforting sounds of a family truly connected. They were not just surviving, they were thriving, growing into confident, well-adjusted individuals, a testament to Sarah's dedication and strength. As the years unfolded, new friendships and opportunities naturally emerged, drawn to Sarah's quiet confidence and genuine warmth. She found herself surrounded by people who valued her for who she was, people who celebrated her successes and offered genuine companionship. These relationships were built on mutual respect and shared interests, a stark contrast to the superficiality that had permeated her previous marital life. She traveled, explored new places, and embraced experiences that expanded her horizons, each new adventure further cementing her sense of self and her place in the world. Her resilience was not just a story she told. It was a life she lived, day by day, choice by choice. There were quiet moments, often in the late evenings after the children were asleep, when Sarah would reflect on the past. The memories of Mark's betrayal no longer brought the sharp sting of pain, but a dull ache, like an old scar. She looked back, not with bitterness, but with a profound sense of wisdom. The experience had taught her invaluable lessons about trust, self-worth, and the true meaning of a loving partnership. She understood now, with crystal clarity, that true love was built on an unshakable foundation of trust, respect, and unwavering honesty, not on deceit, manipulation, or a fragile facade. The illusion of perfection had shattered, revealing a deeper, more authentic truth about human connection. From the ashes of her broken marriage, a stronger, more confident Sarah had emerged. She was not merely a survivor, she was a creator, actively shaping a life filled with purpose, joy, and genuine connection. Her unwavering spirit, once tested to its limits, had proven itself to be an unyielding force, capable of weathering any storm and rebuilding with grace. She carried her past not as a burden, but as a testament to her incredible capacity for resilience, a quiet strength that radiated from within, illuminating her path forward. Every step she took, every decision she made, was a testament to the woman she had become, free, empowered, and truly herself. She was a living embodiment of the truth that even from the deepest wounds, profound healing and extraordinary growth could bloom. Years later, the suburban landscape that once defined Sarah's struggles now bore witness to her serene triumph. Her children, once navigating the choppy waters of their parents' separation, had blossomed into remarkable adults. Her daughter, a brilliant architect, designed innovative, sustainable buildings across the globe, her work a testament to creativity and resilience. Her son, a compassionate doctor, dedicated his life to serving underserved communities, his empathy a direct reflection of the care he received during his formative years. Both were successful, happy, and deeply connected to their mother, their lives rich with purpose and genuine affection. Sarah's sacrifices and unwavering love had woven a tapestry of success and emotional well-being for them, far exceeding the superficial metrics of wealth or status. Sarah herself had found a profound and unexpected happiness. Her career, which she had rekindled with renewed vigor, had flourished beyond her wildest imagination. She had risen through the ranks, her sharp intellect and empathetic leadership style earning her respect and admiration. But it was in her personal life where the truest transformation had occurred. She found new love, not in a whirlwind romance of fleeting passion, but in a deep, abiding connection with a man named David. David was a kind, steady presence, an academic whose quiet strength and unwavering integrity resonated deeply with Sarah's own values. Their relationship was a sanctuary built on the bedrock of honesty, shared laughter, and mutual respect. There were no games, no hidden agendas, just a genuine partnership that brought immense joy and peace to her life. They traveled, explored new passions together, and nurtured a bond that felt both exhilarating and profoundly secure. One crisp autumn afternoon, as Sarah walked through a bustling downtown park, her hand intertwined with David's, a familiar figure appeared in the distance. It was Mark. He was older now, his once charismatic features etched with an undeniable weariness. His clothes, though still expensive, hung on him with a certain dishevelment, and his eyes held a hollow, defeated look. He was a shadow of his former self, a stark and painful contrast to the vibrant, radiant woman Sarah had become. He didn't seem to notice her at first, lost in his own world of quiet contemplation, or perhaps regret. Sarah's heart gave a tiny, almost imperceptible flutter, not of pain or anger, but of a profound and peaceful acceptance. The past, with all its heartbreak and betrayal, no longer held power over her. She had processed it, learned from it, and ultimately transcended it. She understood now that forgiveness was not about excusing Mark's actions, nor was it about reconciling with him. Forgiveness, she realized, was a gift she had given to herself, the freedom from bitterness, the liberation from the chains of resentment. It was the ability to look at the man who had caused her so much pain and feel nothing but a quiet understanding of his own failings, and a deep appreciation for the journey his betrayal had inadvertently set her upon. David, sensing a shift in her demeanor, squeezed her hand gently, his gaze following hers to Mark. He didn't ask, didn't pry. He simply offered a comforting presence, a silent affirmation of their shared present. Sarah offered him a soft, knowing smile, a testament to the transparency and trust that defined their relationship. As Mark finally looked up, his eyes briefly met Sarah's. A flicker of recognition, then a flash of something unreadable, perhaps regret, perhaps shame, perhaps even a sliver of longing for what he had so carelessly discarded. But Sarah offered no judgment, no lingering resentment. She simply nodded, a small, polite acknowledgement of a shared past, then turned her gaze back to David, to the beautiful life they had built together. The final scene shows Sarah surrounded by her children and David at a celebratory dinner, her face illuminated by laughter and the soft glow of candlelight. Her eyes, once shadowed by doubt and pain, now sparkled with an inner peace and unwavering strength. She was truly free, not just from the burden of her past, but free to embrace a future brimming with love, purpose, and genuine happiness. The journey had been arduous, marked by profound betrayal and deep sorrow. But Sarah had emerged not just intact, but transformed. She was a living testament to the human spirit's incredible capacity for resilience, forgiveness, and the enduring power of a new beginning. Her life was a masterpiece of reconstruction, painted with the vibrant hues of self-discovery and triumphant joy.